Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real quick. I don't care how good you look, how sweet you talk, how much you give. If somebody's ignoring you, you got to teach him what that costs. See, here's the truth. If you let somebody treat you like you ain't got value, they'll believe you don't. If he ignores your text, your time, your heart, then you got to do what most people are scared to do. Pull back. Stop showing up where you ain't seen. Stop calling where you ain't heard. Stop giving where you ain't getting. When someone ignores you, especially someone who claims to care about you, that's not just a moment of silence. It's a message, and sometimes the message says louder than words ever could. You're not important enough right now. Let's be clear. Everyone gets busy. Life happens. We all need space sometimes. But there's a difference between needing space and choosing to dismiss your presence. When someone repeatedly ignores your calls, your texts, your needs, or your existence in a room, that's not just a bad habit. That's disrespect. That's someone telling you where they've placed you in their priorities. And if you keep allowing it, you're co-signing that treatment. Knowing your worth isn't just about self-love quotes on Instagram. It's about how you allow people to treat you, how you respond when someone shows you they don't value your voice, your presence, or your time. If someone can go days without thinking about you, without checking on you, without acknowledging your efforts, and you still show up for them like nothing happened, that sends a signal. You're telling them it's okay to disrespect you. You're telling them that your love will always be there, no matter how they behave. That kind of loyalty sounds romantic in movies, but in real life it drains your soul. Disrespect doesn't always come with yelling or name-calling. Sometimes it walks in quietly, dressed as silence. And the sad part is the more you let it slide, the more normal it becomes. You start second-guessing yourself, wondering if maybe you're expecting too much, if maybe it's just you being too sensitive. But it's not sensitivity, it's awareness. It's your gut trying to warn you. Don't let that voice get silenced. You feel it for a reason. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you allow someone to ignore your needs, your emotions, your voice, and you continue to pour into them, you're teaching them that your love doesn't require effort in return. That's not noble. That's not strength. That's self-betrayal. You cannot keep giving someone the most loyal version of you when they're giving you the most convenient version of them. Loyalty has to be mutual. Respect has to be earned. And presence, real presence, has to be felt on both sides. Some people only start to realize your worth after you stop showing up, because as long as you're always available, they don't feel the urgency to appreciate you. You're just there like background noise. It's only when the silence hits, when your energy is no longer in the room, that they start to feel the emptiness. And by then, you might be long gone. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. That's why it's so important to recognize the signs early. If someone is ignoring you, don't chase them. Don't beg for attention that should be given freely. You're not a side note in someone else's story. You're the headline. Act like it. There's power in the pause. The moment you stop overextending yourself for someone who won't even meet you halfway, that's the moment you reclaim your worth. That's when you start to heal, to glow, to remember who you were before you started shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You don't need to yell. You don't need to prove your value to someone who's blind to it. You just need to pull back, realign, and move accordingly. Let your absence speak for you, that it teach the lesson that your presence was a privilege, not a promise. Ignoring you is not a mistake, it's a choice, and if someone chooses to ignore you repeatedly, don't keep choosing them in return. Love yourself enough to walk away from anyone who makes you feel like too much, or worse, not enough. You deserve effort. You deserve attention, and you deserve to be seen, not when it's convenient for them, but consistently, intentionally, and respectfully. That's the standard. That's the bare minimum. And anything less than that, let it go. It's a hard truth, but one worth sitting with. Most people don't fully value what's constantly in front of them. When someone knows they have unlimited access to you, they stop seeing you as something rare. They start thinking you'll always be there, no matter what they do. And for some men especially, comfort can lead to complacency. The calls get fewer, the texts shorter, the energy weaker. Not because they stop liking you, but because they assume you'll stay. And the problem isn't just them, it's also what we've allowed. Being constantly available sounds sweet in theory. You want to be supportive, loyal, loving. You want to prove you're dependable, that you're down for him no matter what. But if you're always saying yes, always replying instantly, always showing up even when he doesn't show out, you're teaching him that he doesn't have to try, that you'll keep giving even when he stops showing up. That's when the dynamic shifts. Suddenly it's one-sided and you're carrying the emotional weight of two people while he's coasting, not even realizing how heavy your love is. Now, here's the thing. People don't chase what they already have, they chase what they think they could lose. That doesn't mean you need to play games. This isn't about manipulation, it's about boundaries. It's about self-respect. When you set limits, when you say not today, when you don't respond right away, when you prioritize yourself, you create a healthy distance. And that space makes people take notice. It reminds them you're not guaranteed. It reminds them you have a life that doesn't revolve around them. That's when interest sharpens. That's when effort returns. Being too available sends the wrong message. It can look like desperation even when it's just devotion. It can feel like neediness even when it's just love. People often confuse accessibility with simplicity. They think she's easy to reach, she must be easy to keep. But no one values what they don't have to work for. Think about luxury brands. Part of what makes them valuable is scarcity. They don't flood the market, they don't chase buyers. They hold their position and let the right people come to them. You have to carry yourself the same way. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you are hard to get. You are a woman of worth, of substance, of depth. It's okay to take time to respond. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have days where you focus entirely on you, your peace, your dreams, your healing. That space creates mystery, and mystery creates desire. A man who values you will lean in closer, not drift away. He will recognize the shift. He will feel the absence of the constant you, and it'll remind him not to take your presence for granted. Let him feel the weight of your silence. Let him sit in the gap you leave behind when you stop overgiving. You don't have to threaten to leave. You don't have to throw ultimatums. You just have to start showing that your love is not on tap, that your time has value, that your energy is a gift, not a guarantee. When you become less available, you give him space to realize what your presence really meant. If he rises to meet you, if he matches your energy, if he starts to cherish what he nearly lost, then you know his intent. But if your distance doesn't faze him, if your absence doesn't move him, then you've just saved yourself from years of trying to get love from a man who never feared losing you. You have to remember this. You're not here to convince anyone to see your value. You're here to be loved fully, completely, and without condition. And the kind of man who deserves you is the one who knows that your availability is a blessing, not a given. Make him work for your attention. Make him earn your consistency, not out of pride, but out of respect for yourself. Because a man who fears losing you will do everything in his power to keep you. And you deserve nothing less than that. There's something incredibly powerful about silence, especially in a world that constantly demands our attention. We've been taught to speak up, to express our feelings, to show the world exactly what's going on inside our minds. But silence feels like the opposite. It feels like you're retreating, like you're stepping away. But here's the secret. Silence is not weakness, it's strength. It's a tool that, when used wisely, can speak louder than any word you could ever say. When you're silent, you're not giving away your energy. You're not arguing, pleading, or chasing someone who isn't meeting you where you need them to be. You're preserving your peace. And that peace is more valuable than anything. If someone is ignoring you, disrespecting you, or taking you for granted, your silence can be the most effective way to communicate your dissatisfaction. It's a message that says, I don't need to explain myself. My absence says it all. Too often we think that if we don't speak up, if we don't argue, if we don't fight for attention, we're being passive. But the truth is, silence is one of the most active forms of communication. When you stop engaging with someone who isn't giving you the respect or attention you deserve, you're teaching them something powerful. You're teaching them that your time, your energy, and your emotions aren't available for free, that they have to earn your presence. And not just by saying nice things, but through real action. That's what your silence is saying. There's an old saying that goes, actions speak louder than words. And while words have their place, actions always win. So, when someone isn't showing up for you, when they're too busy to answer your calls or too distant to acknowledge your worth, your silence forces them to reflect. It forces them to realize that they no longer have the luxury of your attention whenever they decide they're ready to give it to you. It's a power move. You're no longer chasing, you're no longer pleading. You've decided your worth is not up for negotiation. And if they can't see it, then maybe it's time for them to experience what it feels like to lose you. When you stop talking, you stop giving them the air they need to keep their excuses alive. You don't have to argue your point, explain yourself, or beg for validation. By pulling back, you show them that your value isn't something that can be taken for granted. It's something that has to be respected. Your silence sends a message that says, I will no longer allow myself to be treated like an afterthought. And for many people, that silence can be louder than any confrontation. It forces them to reflect on their actions, on what they've been doing wrong, and on what they stand to lose if they continue this pattern. Your silence is a way of protecting your energy. It's a way of ensuring that your emotional well-being is not being drained by someone who isn't putting in the same effort. We often feel like we need to keep explaining, keep justifying, keep pushing for understanding. But what happens when we just stop? What happens when we pull our energy away and refuse to pour it into a situation that's no longer serving us? The dynamic shifts. Suddenly they have to fight for your attention. Suddenly they have to prove that they deserve your time, your love, and your loyalty. And here's another thing.